All right. Apparently, Facebook has a new API that you have to use that I'm not going to mess with right now. So we're going to YouTube. We'll share it back over.
Whatever works.
Exactly.
This week on In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio, we sit down with Chris Thistle of Thistle Therapies to talk about his story, his passions, and the science behind custom cannabinoid treatments. Chris was a paramedic for years, realizing his love for microbiology while getting his master's in health science. Chris started blending cannabinoids. This got him involved in a project to open a dispensary that led to a CBD store in Massachusetts while waiting for their license. After a few years, Chris stepped away to focus more on direct patient care using lab-formulated, quality-controlled cannabis products. In the face of adversity and COVID, Chris opened Thistle Therapies. Thistle Therapies is dedicated to the formulation, application, and research of customized cannabinoid therapies through the use of cannabis-derived terpenes, minor cannabinoids, and supplements. Thistle Therapies has built a dedicated team that works around the clock to provide one-on-one consultations in order to create the best blends to get to the root cause of your ailments. Tune in February 17th at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we sit down with Chris to hear his story and his belief in the power of this amazing plant. Find us at www.facebook.com/Prohibition Talk Radio.
All right, guys, we are back. I'm just checking to make sure we're live. I'm trying to make sure everything's set. We've had, I think all of us are running a little bit late today. We're still rendering video, so my computer's being not very cooperative today, guys. So I apologize for any glitches or any fun stuff that we always have every week anyways. But we're rendering the Can Talk video. We've got a new segment for you guys this week. We're back with the strain of the week. So we're going to, everybody say hi to Justin. We're glad to have you on from the Bud Grower. So the Bud Grower is out west, out in California. So we're really excited to have the East Coast and the West Coast kind of teaming up for a show finally here.
You got to converge.
Perspectives. Yeah, right. And the great thing is Justin was out here in the New England area, so he's very familiar with a lot of us here and working on the music scene and things of that nature, events, stuff like that. So we're really excited to have Justin part of the show. You guys will see his segment a little later. We're going to talk about a little of some Kimbo Kush, which I'm really excited about. I also want to say hello to Sherry Tuckett from the Green Nurse. Glad to have you back on again this week. We have a very great segment for you guys today, if we can get it rendered in time, discussing sex, right? We all just had Valentine's Day. You know, February is National Condom Month, which I didn't understand, which I didn't realize, which makes perfect sense being Valentine's, month, right? And International Condom Day was February 14th, I believe. So it all works, right? So it makes sense. So we got a lot to talk about there, and how cannabis can be used in the bedroom, which is really unique. We also have Timothy Fair on from Vermont Cannabis Solutions, our legal advisor, our news, defragulator with me here.
This, that, the other thing.
Yeah, right. Everybody always asks, what does Tim do? I'm like, well, he's our lawyer who just answers all my oddest questions I can throw at him.
I ramble a lot.
Yeah. from the worst perspectives I could think of, right? But no, we're glad to have you guys all back on again this week, and welcome to Justin. But this week we have a really great guest, Chris Thistle, who we've been watching for a few years now, and he's doing some amazing things. Sherry and Chris go back a little bit, and we've seen some product. We've been doing some research on Chris, and we really like what he's doing. So we're really excited to have him on the show today. We're going to be talking about cannabinoids, and blends and endocannabinoid systems, and man, we are just talking about before the show new cannabinoids that they're finding in science right now, and what these are and what they will be beneficial to you and how that will work, right? So Chris, first and foremost, we'll get the show rolling. Why don't you introduce yourself to those people who do not know who you are? Explain to them how you got into cannabis, because that's the biggest thing that everybody always asks, right? And then and what you're doing, man.
All right, so my name's Chris Thistle. I've been in the cannabis industry probably since about 2014. But before that, I have a medical background. I started out as a paramedic. Did that for a few years, realized you're underappreciated when you're a paramedic. You don't get paid very well and you work very hard. I mean, it's good helping people. I was going to school to get my master's in health science, and I was also minoring in microbiology. I'm very interested in plant science and things like that. And that was around the time that cannabis was becoming legal in Massachusetts. So I started really getting, involved in depth into the research that was coming out of Israel, because Israel is usually light years ahead of us, but lately Italy's been taking the lead. But back then, Israel light years ahead of us. So I really got entrenched in all their research, and I just decided that, I could help a lot more people with natural alternatives rather than, keep going the college route, go to medical school, become a doctor, and push pharmaceuticals. So I got my, master's, and then I just took it from there. And, with a couple other people, we started a CBD store. But after about a year, it was a very successful CBD store. But after about a year and a half, just decided it wasn't for me. The partners that I was with weren't for me. And I wanted to focus, like you said, on patient care, helping people, not the money. And I decided to break off and use my idea of tailoring, cannabinoids and supplements and terpenes, and creating custom formulas for people, because everybody's different. And that all started with the CBD store, actually, to be honest, because, I always worked the front, having the medical background and, knowing probably the most about cannabis out of the few that own the store. And I seen, within the first 2 days, I seen all kinds of people coming in with ailments from A to Z, and they're all getting the same thing. They're either buying oil or gummies, or, they're just buying CBD in different strengths or, different ways to intake it. And I came up with something called the terpene station. And I got the 6 most commonly found terpenes. I actually have it hanging on my wall in my office here: linalool, myrcene, beta-caryophyllene, humulene, alpha-pinene, and limonene. I hung them up on the wall. And when people came in, I would ask them, you want to have a consultation real quick? They'd talk to me for about 10 minutes, tell me what was going on with them. And I'd say, I can customize your oil for you with terpenes. Like if you want something for anxiety, I'm going to add a little bit of linalool. Depression, I'm going to add a little bit of limonene. And it made a huge difference. An extra couple dollars for a customization like that, it really increased, customer retention rate and everything. And that's basically where my company Thistle Therapies was born, out of that. And then I started, playing around with other cannabinoids and supplements and really taking it to the next level. And I decided that's where, this industry is going.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it, man. I agree. One of the things I wanted to ask you right away, and it always sticks out in my head, is we talk about CBD a lot on the show, And a lot of people, kind of like what you said, everybody's going to CBD for all these different ailments, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's really not the end all cure all for everything, right? I mean, we talk about the
Nope.
endocannabinoid system a lot on the show. We even provide terpene Tuesday, which is what I love about you talking about terpenes. I
Yeah.
mean, well, you were at a CBD store for a few years, right? Let's have some fun with this, right? Because
Yeah.
you've seen both sides of this, right? Not a lot of people get to see both sides, right? You're seeing
Exactly.
the full approach, and then you're seeing basically the CBD store, which is depending on your integrity in a store, what kind of products are you pushing? What were the benefits and values of those products? You know what I mean? And then being
Yeah,
in,
they're all just basically the same thing. I mean, now I would say now being 2021, there are some companies out there that are having like one-to-one CBD, CBG, and like one CBG, I mean CBD, CBN, things like that. Still not as crazy formulated as mine, but a little bit different.
right? Because we're talking about a whole plant or broad spectrum oils, right?
Yeah.
Where people are usually taking it apart, putting it all back together, pulling different things out. Um, what are the benefits to these custom blends, man? I mean, I know you kind of touched on it, and I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if we're talking about having one product to cure everybody, right? It's really unique to add a custom blend, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, people, I always ask people when I'm explaining about my product, do you know what terpenes are? And a lot of people will say, yeah, a little bit, they kind of give the smell to cannabis, or then not many people know exactly what they are. But so I explain it, like this, that there's 20,000 different terpenes in the world. There's over 300 found in cannabis alone. They're responsible for the aroma and the flavor of a plant, but they also have medicinal properties to them. Now,
Mm,
the way that I explain how I use them is that I say, how Native Americans a long time ago, and even people all over the world to this day, they go out and pick up different plants and herbs and roots and combine them together and make different concoctions to treat, like a stomach illness or to treat a migraine. And then I say, well, in like the modern form of that is going into a medical dispensary and saying, hey, I got back pain. And they say, well, why don't you try this strain? And they say, oh, I got, migraines. Well, why don't you try this strain? I tell them that all comes down to the terpenes. So what I do is I have, all these different cannabis derived terpenes that I get extracted from the plants. And that allows me to add whatever properties you need to your formula.
mm. Yeah. Now, terpenes, right? This is a word that people don't hear a lot, and now we're talking about cannabinoids and terpenes. We talk about a lot on the show, but I don't think a lot of people really understand what terpenes are, right? Give us
Mm-hmm.
an explanation of what terpenes are and how they are benefiting your products more than these other people's products that aren't really putting them in there, right?
Well, when you add terpenes to like back when I had my CBD store, that's all I was doing was adding the terpenes. It was boosting the efficacy, like because obviously I was collecting data, when I was doing this for people. Definitely boosting the efficacy between 60 to 80%. So, it just made a huge difference. For example, can I talk about medical claims on here or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the real big first big successes that I had with the terpenes was this woman came in and she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she had 4 tumors on her pancreas, and she wasn't doing chemo, she wasn't doing radiation, she was ready to give up. She just wanted something to keep her comfortable as she transitioned. And I said, well, don't give up yet. Let me try to make you something, give it a shot. And she said, all right. And so I got her a 5,000 milligram full spectrum tincture, and I put limonene in it, high doses of limonene, which is like, people that have cancer, they get infusions of vitamin C. Hold on. My robot vacuum is trying to come in my office. Um, so yeah, they try to get, they get high doses of vitamin C or whatever to try to kill the tumors, cause apoptosis. But So that's where the limonene comes in. And she was one of the first people that I experimented on with cannabinoids. And I used high amounts of CBG. And I gave her this formula after 3 months. And it's funny because it's 3 months and then 3 tumors. So after 3 months, she went to see her oncologist, and he did her scans and all that, and he's seen that her three of the tumors out of the four had shrunk over 60%, and he was shocked. So the surgeon was confident enough to go in and remove those 3 tumors. And when he did, they sent him down to the pathology lab, and he called her up a couple days later and he said, "Have you been taking like lemon juice or like getting vitamin C, infusions or something like that? Like, what have you been doing?" And she's explained, how, "Oh, I've been going to the CBD store. One of the owners has been making me this custom tincture with something called limonene." And he said, "Well, because there was this, I found this oil, this like citrus-like oil coating the tumors." And he said, "You better go in there and give them a hug." So she came in a couple of days later, and she walked straight up to me crying, gave me a hug. And I was like, "Oh God, this is it. She's, going." And it was completely the opposite. She was saying, "Thank you. You helped me so much." And then after 4 or 5 more months, the fourth tumor completely disappeared.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely one of my great stories that I have. That was the first one, and that one will always stick with you,
And I'm going
Now,
to
when we
type
talk
in
about
really quickly. Pancreatic cancer is a really, really,
Yeah.
really difficult cancer to treat with the traditional medical system in general.
Yeah,
So
that's why she was just going to give up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you're using terpenes, because when we talk about cancer a lot, I mean, and I'm glad we've had this discussion right now, because we're talking about a cancer patient. There's a lot of argument in all the fields, right, about how to treat cancers, right? And
Yep.
we know there's different types of cancers out there. We're learning more and more about this, but there's like the Rick Simpson oils, there's fecal oils, there's some people that just believe in CBD, there's some people that don't believe in CBD at all and just believe in straight THC. What are we looking at here, Chris? What are the best ways to approach cancer? Is it really depending on all sorts of different things, or is there a good way to approach this fundamentally?
Honestly, I feel, this is my opinion, I feel that the reason why Rick Simpson oil or FECO works so well is not just because of the high amounts of THC, is because it's full plant and you're getting CBG as well. So CBG actually inhibits the production of new blood vessels. So when, like, not in a bad way, but it actually inhibits angiogenesis. So when cancer is about to metastasize, it needs to spread throughout your body, and then the tumor needs to nuzzle somewhere and grow a blood system, and to keep it alive. And if it can't grow new blood vessels, it's going to die off. It's not going to be able to keep going. So that actually stops the metastasis. And then you have things like limonene and CBC that cause apoptosis in cancer cells, which is cell death. So honestly, I think it's all of it. Right? Would you agree, Sherry? I don't think it's just the THC.
I would truly, I completely 100% agree with you. And I'm just going to share a quick story. That's a pancreatic cancer story. It's very similar to yours.
Yeah.
A woman went on hospice. I got called social worker. This woman was dying, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, unresectable tumor. They could not operate. She failed chemo, she failed radiation, and we helped her. Her goal she was ready to go. She was honestly ready to go. And her goal was just to be comfortable at the end of life. So we did a lot of full spectrum CBD in the daytime, and she did a small amount of FECO at bedtime, maybe 0.2 of a gram.
Yeah.
And basically that was it. I didn't hear from her, and I thought she died. 6 months later, she calls me up and she goes, Sherry, she's this little Italian old lady. And I go, who's this? She says her name. And I go, oh my God, I thought you died. And she goes, no, I'm alive. I'm very much alive. She goes, I just got out of my oncology appointment and there is no evidence of cancer in my body.
That's amazing.
So, and that's me not even knowing. And that was her. I said, did you take anything different? Did you do anything different? She goes, no, I just did CBD in the daytime and a little bit of THC at night.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
it's a testament as to how everyone is so different,
Oh yeah.
what they need and how they respond to the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I mean, and then we have, you have Delta 9, Delta 8 also to throw in this scenario as well. So with everybody looking at Delta 8 becoming like this big new trend. Well,
Yeah.
how do you feel about Delta 8, Chris? I mean, is it something that we should be looking at? Is it
I
something that
love Delta 8. I use Delta 8 and most of my products. I mean, if people want it, you know what I mean? So if they don't want it, obviously I don't put Delta 8 if they can't take THC for, they need to pass a drug test or whatever. But, Delta 8 has all the medicinal properties of Delta 9 without any of the, drawbacks. It doesn't give you any anxiety. It doesn't give you any paranoia. It doesn't inhibit REM sleep. So you can still dream when you take it. That sleep formula that you have, Sherry, that has Delta 8 in it. And I just feel that also Delta 8 is 1,000 times more effective as an antiemetic, so an anti-nausea than Delta 9. So it's great for cancer patients and, let's say older people as well that need the medicinal properties and they don't want to get high. They don't want to get blitzed all day. I kind of look at it as Delta 8 is a little more medicinal and Delta 9 is a little more recreational.
nice?
I mean,
That's a nice way
that's
to separate it.
yeah, that's how I look at it,
For the older generation, I like them. I call Delta 8 their daytime formula.
Yeah, 100%. And it gives you energy too.
It does.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's a very nice, calming energy.
Yeah.
It's very different. I like it. I call it like the floaty, the feel good floaty,
Yeah.
managing symptoms but still feeling elevated, but not impaired. So it's nice. It's a nice combination.
Nice.
Yeah. It's great when you formulate with it because I mean, you can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. You can make it help you sleep. You can make it, give you energy. It's different than Delta 9.
It's like CBD. Everybody says it's great, it's garbage, it works, it doesn't work. It's so interesting to hear all the feedback on the products. It's the people that love it really do believe in Delta 8, right? They really stand behind it.
There's people out there that are gonna say this is garbage or that's garbage, and maybe they got a bad batch, or maybe they had a bad extractor, or you know what I mean. There is garbage out there, so
Yeah, you can't judge a book by it's the first. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
First,
No, not at all.
you know what I mean?
Well, that is what I was going to lead into a segue where sorry guys, I was going to lead into something really quick that was basically, about the snake oil. You know what I mean? Chris was running a CBD store. Now he's making real medicine. He's really paying attention to what customers need. How much did he of snake oils out there, Chris? I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's kind of like what you just kind of said it. We're talking about Delta 8. What's real? What's not? How do we trust people? You know
I
what
mean, there's definitely a lot of snake oil out there. I mean, about 80% of all the products out there are white labeled by the same company, these big companies. But then there's a lot of people that are doing it correct too. And the way you separate is by, full panel labs and all that. But, like when I had my CBD store, before we had like one like flagship brand of oils and gummies, basically everything that the company made. And before we picked that flagship brand, we actually flew out to a couple different places and seen their production facilities and stuff. And this company that we went with, they really treated everything like medicine. Like, they were in white suits, they had UV filters, UV lights, and carbon filters everywhere that, not carbon filters, sorry, I'm used to growing HEPA filters. And, they just really treated it like medicine and we went with them. But, and then every other product that we brought in the store made sure it had, rigorous testing and all that. But there is they did an expose, I think, on Channel 7 about 2 years ago, maybe a little, about 2 years ago, and they grabbed 100 bottles of CBD oil from different people online, different companies, and they sent them all to the lab. And out of the 100, only 23 of them actually matched what they said on the label. So the cannabinoids did not add up.
Yep. I mean, there was a test on the Amazon products, the top 10 CBD products that were sold. I think this was about 8 months ago, and none of them had CBD in them. Now, Justin, I know you wanted to ask a quick question.
So I used to actually be in charge of our CBD for the smoke shops that I would work for in New Hampshire. And I was just going to attest that, there's a lot of white labeling going on with that. I had two basic, like, when you work for something like that, it's obviously they want to have a lot of variety and they want to have a lot of choices for people, but a lot of those choices aren't really good to begin with. So ultimately, after we got all that stuff in, we ended up, I ended up only selling, like, there was two main brands that I would sell, and that's kind of where I would direct people to go to. Everyone's like, oh, you got these brownies, or oh, you got these, like, these this tincture is a better price, and you're like, don't like, you're not going with that.
100%.
So
no, same thing with me. When I was always, like I said, up front, and I would always push them to 2 or 3 brands out of all the other stuff that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, I think a lot of people don't realize that. It's kind of like gasoline in America, right? Like, all literally off the same truck, guys, gets poured into your gas well, right? And then they add like these little, like 30 ounces, guys. These on a gas station, 30 ounces of a formulation that goes in thousands of gallons, and that's what changes your gas from the gas competitor down the road, right? It's really amazing. Like you guys hit the nail on the head. White labeling. I mean, white labeling to our industry has been amazing to me, especially when you do get to work behind the scenes, and how prevalent white labeling really is, right?
It's crazy.
Are you white labeling, Chris, for anyone?
Not currently, no.
Are you good? Will you be white labeling?
It's still something I'm thinking about. I don't know. I don't think I want to. I think my stuff's special and I want to keep it to myself.
There you go.
Well, something like that where you're creating custom blends for people, we can understand that. I mean,
it's very different. I mean, like, I have a couple of shelf stable, like the bottles you have in the background, the Relief, the Revive, the Rest, and the Relax, and then my topical, and I also have a Delta 8 formula as well, and those are on, like, I don't keep them made. I make everything as soon as it gets ordered. It's all fresh. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna mess it. And what's it called? So my camera messed up. And everything is fresh as soon as it gets made. As soon as it gets ordered, it gets made and sent out. Nothing sits around. That's another problem with a lot of these companies. They just have stuff sitting there.
Yeah, what's the shelf life on some of these products?
I mean, the shelf life is years, but still, I wouldn't want something that's been sitting around for 2 years, and you know what I mean?
Well, it's because cannabinoids degrade over time, right?
Yeah,
so the
most definitely.
They do, especially in like lower quality tinctures and things like that. One thing that I noticed working in a huge store like that was that you don't sell them all the time, and they sit and they sit and they sit, and then even after a while, like even after you like shake up the bottle, there's still like there's two separations there, like the oils are separating, and you're like, this isn't healthy. So no, I've been there. Yeah, you can definitely see that.
Well, the thing I was going to say, there's a lot of ways to get these oils blended. If they're using like nanos, there's a tendency to separate there. You know what I mean? To re-emulsify a lot of these things. I mean, I've even seen with carts where we've had cart issues, and the guy's like, "Oh, just dip in some hot water and shake it really good." Like, you know what I mean? But I mean, with the car companies, I mean, I know we were doing a lot of work with car companies where these labs are taking in and they're taking percentages of the oil to process oil for other people, right? And then they're taking these oils, blending them, and then making other products with them, right? Yeah, like you said, and these labs are making carts for 20 different companies. So
of course.
when we see these guys, you know, you got to do your due diligence to do some research to figure out where these people are from, how it comes. You know, we had big cart issues, but now everybody's kind of taking the other approach to distillates now, right? We're starting to see distillates being used more and more and more and more, and especially when we talk about using it in culinary, right? When we're cooking or when we're
Oh, of
making
course, yeah.
lollipops or products like that, because it's easy to get your calculations right, so you know how much you're dosing people. But then
It's
again,
flavorless usually.
yeah, and it's all
Yeah.
blended, it's flavorless, and you don't know what you're really getting as far as I hate to say it this way, but your indica or your sativa type of effects.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's a blended oil. And a lot of these carts where people are thinking they're getting like, oh, I need that Gorilla Glue 4, right? It's a blended oil with
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like that, when people buy carts, they think like they're getting the distillate that was made from Gorilla Glue. Like, no, that's just reintroduced botanical terpenes.
yeah. And a lot of them are, and a lot of those even aren't cannabis-based terpenes, right? They're
No, they're
just
just botanical. They're just from flowers, from plants. Just botanical, because cannabis derived terpenes, I know I have a bunch. They're expensive. They're
yeah,
pricey.
yeah. And
Yeah,
they're not,
definitely pricey.
yeah, you know, when Fruity Loops taste like Fruity Loops, that's probably not a cannabis terpene, right? Like it doesn't taste like Fruity Loop
No,
sugar at the bottom of the bag.
nope.
Um, those are that stuff's not great for you. So, you know,
Yeah.
as glad as I am that the whole cart movement is kind of shifted to get more responsible and to be and hold themselves accountable with new products, which we've seen some great products coming out. We've seen some new designs for carts, which is great. Hopefully, the
Yeah.
market
The
will
all
love
quartz
them.
ones look great.
Yep, they got ceramics, they got quartz, they got all
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, all ceramic. I have an order in for a few of those to check them out. I'm waiting for them to come from China.
Everything has come from China, but now that concern too. You know what I mean? Like all these products from China. You know,
Yeah.
but beyond that stuff, was the one of the things I really want to talk to you about, because we're getting low on time here, was, you know, you're blending, right? You're looking, and now you're doing some research, right? So
Mhm.
you were talking about CBG a lot, which actually I just got some CBG hash from Vermont Hash Company here, which has been amazing. And I love the effect. And the effect to me was something that my guy was like, well, that's not really kind of how you should feel from it. I'm like, dude, this is great, you know, like getting more sediment, how everybody reacts to it, right? But what's we are talking about before, the unicorn, right? What are you working on now? We were talking about a little bit earlier about what they're finding, where science is going. What are you going for right now, Chris? Because I know you're in the hunt right now as well, right?
Yeah, right now I'm hunting for CBM, cannabinoid. So that actually was discovered about 6 months ago now, by two Italian scientists in Carmagnola, Italy. And it was discovered in the strain of hemp Carmagnola. And my good friend, he actually happens to have tons of Carmagnola seed that he imported from Italy. And we grew some of that out and just recently harvested it. And we're trying to extract some CBM, because that is going to be a huge cannabinoid. It can regulate your A1C. It can regulate thyroid. It can do so much when it comes to, weight control and just blood pressure, cholesterol, things like that.
Works on those CB2 receptors, hopefully,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
We love receptors, man.
So, Chris, how do you see CBM fitting into your custom formulations?
I have a lot of people that, when I'm doing, the consultations with them, they have hypertension or they have diabetes or, things like that, or overactive, underactive thyroid, or they want to lose weight, things like that. And I guarantee using CBM in different amounts, like different dosages will definitely help them. Yeah.
So
Right
you would
now,
add
I
that
can.
another cannabinoid like for your customs. It would be like on the menu of.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's hard with my stuff, because everything is basically custom. Even the stuff that's online, that's on my website, people will go to buy it and they'll contact me through my website and say, I want this, but you know, can I add that? Or, and if you look on my website, you can see you can pick something and then you can add, oh, I want to add chamomile, and I want to add this, and I want to add that, and I want to add this terpene, and I want to add Delta 8, you know, so it's all custom. It's not like I can just have it sitting around. Everything has to be made to order.
And I'm not going to lie, in taking care of as many patients as we take care of at the Green Nurses, we have found that caregivers are the ones that in the community that are custom formulating for the majority of our patients.
Yep.
Absolutely, hands down. I'm sorry, dispensaries, but patients are really, really, truly needing those specific blends. And also too, what I love that you're doing is you're including other micronutrients and herbs and essential oils.
Yep.
That's going to balance it out. And we've seen a ton, because let's face it, people are undernourished. We don't get enough micronutrients.
Completely.
And so if you can pair those micronutrients and those supplements and those essential oils with cannabinoids and terpenes, you're completely 100% enhancing and increasing the therapeutic potential, because diet is the number one thing when it comes to taking care of your endocannabinoid system. Number one over everything.
And when you mix those, you know, those different supplements and vitamins and whatnot with the cannabinoids and the terpenes, you only need these micro doses, because the cannabinoids, you know, increase the cell permeability, and it just, your bioavailability and uptake just goes through the roof.
Yeah. Suck it right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a plant with a proper pH, right? I mean,
Yep.
It's all about balance, right? We talk about balance a lot.
Yeah, homeostasis, balance. Yep.
Yep. Between mental, physical, what you eat, what you surround yourself with, right? Even in your life can have an adverse effect on you personally, right? I mean, we're talking, especially now, we're talking about people all over the country right now that are struggling, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I honestly, during COVID, you know, it's tough for people. It's tough for everybody. It's not a good time, but my company is actually doing well, because everybody wants to increase their immunity, or, you know, they don't want to get sick. And I understand. I actually got my girlfriend is, she's a visiting nurse, and she brought home COVID at the beginning of all this. And she takes one of my blends, as well as, you know, obviously I take one. And she was sick for 3 days, and I was sick for 2. And it was like barely sick at all. Very minor symptoms.
How does it look to you with the whole COVID thing in cannabis? I mean, that's another great question that, you know, I've been itching to ask Sherry and everybody else about. It's a thing I kind of stay away from, because I don't want to give misleading information.
Claims, you know, God.
Yeah, right.
According to the FDA, only FDA approved medicines can make any claims whatsoever. Everything else, zip the lip.
$85,000 fine.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it is ridiculous on the claims, these things. It's just, I want to make sure people can expect what to get out of this, because I mean, I see a lot of people sharing this around with, oh, it's going to have this huge impact on COVID. I'm like, well, if it's going to have a huge impact on COVID with the numbers that we have and the people that are smoking, then what's the impact? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly think it already has had an impact on COVID. I mean, if you think about all the people you know that smoke cannabis on a daily basis, have any of them got COVID?
Nope.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was our question, you know what I mean? Because again, it's like, you know, I'm glad to have you on. There's just so many of these things that every time I'm thinking about something, it's like, man, on the internet, I see people claiming that it's a savior, and I'm claiming it's a joke, and it's claiming this, and it's claiming that. And then it's like, do we even know what COVID is right now? There's a couple different strains that are popping up again. It looks like it's a scary mess. I just want to tell everybody, if you smoke weed, just smoke more weed. You know what I mean? Like, it's legal. You're allowed to in most states. Like, just smoke more weed. Like you said,
CBG.
Yeah. I haven't met anybody yet.
Different ways. You don't just have to smoke it. You can eat it. You can drink it. You can use it as topicals. You can use suppositories. There's all different ways to get cannabinoids in your body. And inhaling is just one. And I'm not against it, but I always like to make sure everyone knows about the multiple ways.
I'm a big fan of CBG, honestly, because, you know, it's I can't believe that it's almost 4 years ago now. Just out of nowhere, I got celiac. I, can't eat gluten. And my entire life, I, ate normally, ate whatever I wanted. And then just out of nowhere, I started getting very, very sick every time I ate. And I ended up losing like 50 pounds. And I did not know what was going on. I thought I had stomach cancer or something. And, after a while, process of elimination, trying to mess up my diet and everything, I realized it was gluten. And I created a custom formula for myself with very high amounts of CBG and terpenes, beta carotene, because that's found in black pepper. It's very good for intestinal health, and a few other things. But after eating gluten-free and taking my formula for about 7 months, I put all my weight back on. I don't have any symptoms from celiac or anything like that, unless I eat gluten, but you wouldn't even know other than that.
You hit the nail on the head with the CBG and the beta caryophyllene. Huge,
Yeah,
huge,
yeah.
huge, working on the immune system, to either dial it up, dial it down. A lot of people, even with gastric cancer, I worked with a patient whose tumors shrunk. She was on just a tiny bit of THC, but her diet was mostly CBG, CBD, and the beta caryophyllene and various combinations, and didn't need a high amount of THC. That's what I have found is the more of the whole plant, the more of the other cannabinoids, can have the same potential, and not needing as high doses and not needing as much. It's expensive.
No, you don't.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is. And, they're saying you need all, this high amount of THC. And I just don't believe it. I don't believe it because I've seen it work without that THC. So
that's what's like, everyone's different. The Rick Simpson protocol is great for some patients, but for other patients, just like this little old lady who was 75 years old who had pancreatic cancer, she was just getting like maybe, I don't know, 50 to 60 milligrams of THC at bedtime, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
100 milligrams.
If she went any more than that, she'd be a mess.
That was it. That's all. She just wanted to sleep good and feel good, and then just to see how that worked on cancer. So everyone's different, and it's expensive. So make sure you're working with a health professional, just like Chris, and Thistle Therapies, right?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Well, it is very important, and again, and one of the reasons why, and I'm glad you brought beta caryophyllene because that was our terpene of yesterday, right? So we just did a segment on beta caryophyllene, and it is one of Sherry's favorite cannabinoids. But it's interesting how you look at cannabinoids because this is the part of the medicine world that I've always been pitching for. You know what I mean? It's particularly purpose medicine. So between cannabinoids and strains. Now, let me ask you a quick question just to clarify. Are a lot of the reactions that people have, especially with THC, I know when we talk about cannabinoids, right? Are the cannabinoids or is it the terpenoids that are making the biggest difference in our health right now?
It depends. I mean, it depends on how you're using it. When you're smoking cannabis, you're not really getting enough of the minor cannabinoids. When you're smoking it, I would say the terpenes are making a difference. But when you're using extracts, let's say not even extra, just concentrates, extracts, like let's say like CBG isolate or whatever, it's definitely the cannabinoids then. So it's like a, two different approaches.
Two different approaches. All right. That's a good thing. I mean, I'm just trying to think of all these, all we hear is these different point of views all day long, right? Especially if you follow the industry, you know what I mean? Like Chris was saying, we can go out to the store and buy, well, a lot of us like to call snake oil, or CBD oil blend that is just like you said, run of the mill. A lot of these things don't have the product that is within them. And that's been a problem all over the board, where it comes from chocolate bars to Rice Krispie treats. They tell you it's 150 milligrams and it could have 800 in it, or it could have none in it, right? Like we don't know. A lot of these things have been tested and found to be. We need a system, right? And we talk to Tim about this all the time. We need a system. We need a regulatory system, and this is why legalization needs to happen. So a lot of these things can't happen. Like, we can go on Amazon right now, and how many different companies or products can we buy their packaging right now for the cannabis?
like for example, do you remember the TKO carts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So you know that all of those TKO carts are fake, right?
Yep.
No.
Yeah, so TKO only ever manufactured carts that came with a battery attached to them. So all the cartridges themselves, like the ones that, we were buying in the little, white tube, those are
Yep.
all counterfeit.
Yep. Yeah, no, I realized that a few years ago after we found the packaging. You know what I mean? Friends of ours, we found the packaging. They started shipping them. It's like identical
Yeah,
packaging. And then they even went to the inscribed carts. So they were inscribed for a while. And then they were the white box, the black box, the gray box. No,
yeah,
The
it's
white
all,
box. There's a white one too.
yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah,
white TKO.
It depends on who you talk to. One will tell you this is the real one, that's the fake one. I mean, and that's the
yeah.
problem with the industry, though. Unfortunately, you
Like
know what I mean?
Levi jeans.
I'm
Oh,
trying to
I just get
remember.
bought
I
it.
can't remember for some reason, but it was a brand. What was it? It's like Dank.
Red Dank, red brass knuckles, that were the big issues too. They're finding all sorts of
Yeah,
metals
one of them though. The Dank something. I can't remember what it was. That they never made carts ever. All as they were was they just made T-shirts and hats and things like that. They were like an apparel company, and that their name became popular, and then they started making packaging, and then so they were a packaging company. They never made their own distillate.
Well, that's a problem with our industry, and unless you know the research and you pay attention to the markets and you're on the inner side of that, you would
Yeah,
never, you know what I mean? Unfortunately,
no,
how many people out there have bought fake products that, I don't want to say fake because they're processed somewhere, they're made somewhere, they probably get you high, but like the amount of metals, ethanol is a big thing for the fake stuff because people don't back off the gases, right? They process, they
yeah,
blast, push these
yeah.
things through, they throw it right in a car, they don't back off any of the off gases. So when you get
They're
a
not doing 24 hours in a vac oven. They're just trying to push it out the door.
right. And the sad part is, but half the industry loved it because they'd take a hit off their cart, right? And be like, whoa, I got punched in the face. You're like, dude, that's because you just smoked alcohol. That's not
Yeah,
Butane in that, yeah.
poison.
right. You know what I mean? And it's hard to talk to people who don't understand a lot of the science behind things because they just know what's sold or told or what they've seen on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Most people always just want to be right. So
well, it's all about sales, right? It's my product, not your product. My product's the best. My product. My product.
yeah,
I my bedroom or I bought down the road. Who cares, right? It's my product. I need to make money and let's sell it, right?
yeah.
We're gonna shift gears here real quick. Unfortunately, we're getting a little running out of time. We're still waiting for some video rendering from Sherry and the Green Nurses Can't Talk. So we're gonna introduce Justin's little segment really quick here. So we have
Cool.
the strain of the week, which is Kimbo Kush, right? So tell us a little bit about this, Justin.
Kimbo Kush was the first one that we tried for the strain of the week. And for what I was looking to do and what we were kind of looking for was to find something that kind of gave people more of a sedative nature and to be more relaxed. I found that after I smoked it, I felt it in my hands and my feet. Like I went home and you'll hear about it in the video. I threw on some Golden Girls and I just was flat out on the couch. And when you feel like that girl in those anti-drug ads with just like now she doesn't do anything. I was like, wow, yeah, that's true. And it's a very high percent in the THC category. I think it was somewhere around like 26 to 32%. And I
Wow.
was just like wow, like I'm an everyday smoker. I'm a very, very like consistent smoker. And I was just like, all right, like, okay. So yeah, it was very good. It puts me out, it relaxed me though. I didn't get like the go like the sativas do. I get more like an indica couch kind of vibe. So that
That's a
was a
Kush,
really,
right?
yeah.
That's the Kush for you guys. So
Mm-hmm.
here we go. We'll play Justin with his first strain of the week ever, guys. Let us know what you think about it. Here it is, Kimbo Kush.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hi guys, my name's Justin. I'm with the Bud Grower, and welcome to this week's Strain of the Week, brought to you by In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. Kimbo Kush is an indica dominant strain consisting of chunky buds that hold a loose and fluffy bud structure. Smoking Kimbo Kush is relatively easy. It does exhibit a smooth smoke that isn't too harsh on the lungs, and it tastes sour at first, but on the exhale exhibits a nice fruity flavor. The THC content is relatively higher on the spectrum, typically coming in at 20 to 27% and sometimes even higher. The feeling is a slow roll. Smokers may need to wait several minutes before starting to feel relaxed. If you smoke this strain, you will be greeted by a sedative feeling, mostly in the arms and legs, which will knock you out in a relatively same manner as Kimbo himself. And users will typically feel just fine listening to music or watching TV. And although there may be some psychedelic effects like amplified sounds and time dilation, Kimbo Kush primarily acts on the body, leaving the mind pleasantly foggy. Kimbo Kush is suited to evening and bedtime use. The strain has the ability to dull chronic aches and pains and symptoms of anxiety, depression, and PTSD. In large enough doses, it will put you to sleep. So if that's what you're looking for, that's a perfect use. It is a potent strain, and even for experienced smokers, it's better to wait a few minutes to feel the effects before you go out and do something. Or if you're looking to just chill in your house and watch TV, listen to music, you have the day off, this is a very good strain for that. So some of the best reasons why you want to use this strain would be to relax, if you're looking to sleep, if you're looking to battle chronic pain. Those are the key reasons why most people will do this. That being said, this is a fun strain to use if you're looking to get couch locked all day. If you have the day off, if you have nothing to do, you want to watch some Golden Girls, you want to throw on some music, perfect strain to use that for. And that's why we would recommend it. That's why a lot of people use this to begin with. So that's it, guys. My name's Justin. I'm with the Bud Grower, and that's our strain of the week, brought to you by In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. If you are looking to grow and you want to grow from home or do anything, or you're just inquiring, check out our links below. We give tons of information on how to grow, and we have the best kits. Also, check us out on social media. We'd be happy to talk to you. Take care and have fun smoking.
Well, you guys didn't see that, did you? Oh, all right. I just realized that. All right. Dun, 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 dun.
I saw it, but
oh man, I don't know what is going on today with everything. Nothing wants to work. I can't even unmute you guys. I don't know. There we go. We'll just play that one later. I don't even know anymore. I'm about to give up.
I did it. I unmuted.
All right, here we go. All right, now we'll talk to Tim if my computer will work for me today. Oh man, this week, right? Lots of crazy things going on. One thing I want to talk to you about real quick, Tim, was where we stand on Vermont and with town and getting towns involved. How can people go about going to their towns and seeing if they're going to opt in? Because what we have to talk about is opt-ins, right? Like every town has. What's that?
Yeah, I got some good news. Well, some new news, and I can say if it's good or not. There's been a new Senate bill introduced in Vermont, S25. It was introduced a couple weeks ago. Didn't know if it was going to get much traction or not. Today there was a meeting in the Senate Judiciary, and it looks like it's going to be moving forward, and it's going to actually require every town in Vermont to vote on this no later than March 1st of 2022. So it's the legislators' response to the select boards across the state saying we're not going to even allow this to come to a vote of the people like the bill requires. But there's also a couple other factors in there. It's requiring any integrated license, which is the medical dispensaries, to purchase 25% of their supply of cannabis from small craft growers here in Vermont, which I feel would happen anyway, but this makes sure of it. It's just kind of a hedging your bet type of situation. So a couple other little kind of tweaks to the program in there, but it's a real positive bill, and it looks like it may have some traction. We also know that Governor Scott is now in possession with the final 10 names for our Cannabis Control Board. So we're expecting that any day now, within the next week or two, we should be hearing the final three. Then, of course, those three will have to go to the Senate for confirmation, but they are allowed to start working in the meantime. And unless it's just somebody completely off the rails, the Senate confirmation process will be a rubber stamp. It'll be a very quick process. So we're actually looking to get things started here finally. The committee feels we're about 6 to 8 weeks behind where this time frame was in Act 164, but that's certainly not insurmountable. And so hopefully keeping our fingers crossed, we can keep things on track and keep moving forward. Now, for your individual town, what does this mean? We know that there are approximately at this point a dozen Vermont towns, it's closer to 14 now, who have agreed to put it on for town meeting. It's too late at this point for, to get it on to the town meeting warning. It's all, it needs to be a certain amount of days before town meeting. But what that means is that any town in Vermont, anywhere, any person can put forth what's called a voter petition. And that requires the town to call a special meeting. In order to do that, you need 5% of the registered voters of the town. So here in Vermont, that actually it's not a heavy lift in a lot of Vermont towns. Let's say you just, for example, have 1,000 people in your town, or let's say 1,000 registered voters even. 10% of that would be 100, 5% would be 50. So you need roughly 50 signatures for every 1,000 voters within your community. We at Vermont Cannabis Solutions, anybody in the state who wants to get this, shoot me an email. I'll give you the language. We have it drafted already. We have the petition drafted already. We got the question drafted already. Once COVID, now that it's all looking like it's starting to wind down, numbers are coming down. As soon as the weather gets better, you collect the signatures, you submit it, and now your town is required to hold a special meeting to vote on cannabis retail. Remember, though, in Vermont, it's just cannabis retail. That's the only thing it needs to be affirmatively opted into. Every other aspect of the industry, whether it's cultivation, whether it's processing, the town does not need to opt in. There may be other requirements, but opt-in is limited to cannabis retail. But it's good that the legislators taking the step of making towns vote one way or another. But the sooner you have your town vote, the sooner it opts in, the sooner you can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because recently what I just saw was a whole bunch of more propaganda printed on the Front Porch Forum, which is why I brought it up, because it was just like, everybody's talking about the dangers behind cannabis. So this is why research and understand what's going on is important. It's unreal what I've seen, right?
I'm going to throw up a report from the Cato Institute that was, and this is a libertarian think tank. This is not pro-cannabis by any stretch of the imagination, or High Times or anybody else. That's just incredible. And it basically says that legalization doesn't really have that big of an impact on communities, either pro or negative. A couple good things here and there, a couple bad things, but that, the dramatic, is just absolutely silly. And it is silly because, a lot of the propaganda you hear is exactly that. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. This cannabis dispensary opening after the initial, oh my God, there's a cannabis shop open, after about 6 months, it's about exciting having a liquor store in your town. The people who choose to, will go and buy, and tourists will come in and pay $80 for an eighth because they're in Vermont, and it's great. And that's about it. It doesn't create these fundamental changes that the prohibitionists would have us believe. Anyway, Let me get this.
It's amazing. Well, thank you for that, Tim. Humboldt. One quick thing I wanted to talk about was Humboldt banning the grow of hemp. Justin, I'm sure you have a little bit to discuss with this. They're banning the grow of hemp.
Yeah, because it's mixing up with the actual THC female plants, and they're like, no, we don't want that. We just want our regular female plants. And that's it. They're literally saying, like, we don't want this, all the Midwest can have that. We just want, the actual THC. So that's pretty much why they did that. And, to summarize, I think it's cool. I think it's great. I think that's actually a huge move forward, especially, where I'm originally from in New England, New Hampshire, where they still can't legalize. And I came over here. It's like, well, they're just saying, like, well, we don't even need that now. We just want what we want. That's what we wanted all along. So now there's no need for it. So I think it's awesome.
right? And when the prices dropping for hemp products and THC still up there, I don't blame none of these guys. I mean, we've had guests on before. I've talked about these issues in the industry where cross pollinations, runoffs, things like that are having effects on people's grows, right?
Yeah.
We had guests on. We were talking about this a few weeks ago with the industrial hemp farmers, because those guys don't care. They want males. They want these things to be. They're stronger. They grow them differently, but they still pollinate, right? So you can still be 10 miles down the road, not even adjacent to this guy.
The wind kicks it up, and now you're like, I'm screwed now. Yeah, exactly. No, for real.
Right. So it's amazing, right? So it was just an issue. I was amazed to see, and they have backing to ban this too. Like they have everybody come together, so they banned it. This will be interesting to see if any other towns or areas pick this idea up, because I mean, you could do this legally, right, Tim?
I mean, yeah, you could legally, I mean, I guess arguably ban anything if you wanted, but do you have a specific purpose for it? In Humboldt, it's because we have a cottage industry. You move hemp in, that threatens the industry that exists. The cross-pollination could be an issue. You could bring in pests, you could bring in contaminants, you could bring in, things you're going to disturb a good thing we got going. So that's, a valid reason to infringe on somebody's right to grow hemp. Could you just make an arbitrary decision without any basis or reason? I think that, no, that could definitely be challenged. So it's not so much about the ban, it's much more about why is it being banned? What is the purpose of this? Why, because again, agriculture is agriculture. Hemp is an agricultural commodity. You have a right to farm, you have a right to grow. Why is that right being infringed? Well, it's being infringed for the greater good. The greater good being the cannabis growers. And I'm sure there are people out there, I'm sure it was, there are heated arguments on both sides. I'm sure a lot of hemp people that are really not happy with it. But in a democracy, eventually, you're going to get a decision, and some people will be happy and some people won't. But I always look at what's the reason. And this seems like a pretty valid reason.
If you look at Humboldt and you look at like the revenue that they make through just the female plants versus the male hemp plant, it's a lot higher for the female plant. So almost to an extent, if something were to happen, that male plant almost becomes like an invasive plant and can ruin your crops and ruin your budgeting and everything like that. So, that's kind of what they kind of saw and they looked at and said, all right, well, let's make that change. And that was enough ground for them to do that.
Yep. Well, I mean, again, like I said, we've seen issues like this in Applegate and various areas across the country where, like, just like Humboldt, very strong growing communities, right? Very strong growing areas where there, people are up in arms because, like, somebody 20 miles away, 15 miles away with a hemp farm is now ruining their products, right? It's just amazing to see that. And like when I see a ban like that to me is very interesting. It's kind of like Flashdance banning dancing. Like, can we do this really? You know what I mean? But I guess if everybody's on the same, plate, why not, right? If everybody's going to force it, everybody's going to support it, then why not, right? One of the other things I want to talk about really quick with Tim today, and this is huge for everybody, I think, is Hawaii, right? Like, what's going on in Hawaii? The state panel has approved bills to legalize marijuana and increase the decriminalization limit. So they're allowing you to have a little bit more, right? It looks like a lot of things are going on there. So we've seen Hawaii and then also Washington, right? With going full drugs, right? Psychedelics.
Full drugs. I like that.
I don't know how long is it.
It's not quite full drugs yet, but it's definitely, light year step. Decriminalization of small possession amounts, like similar to, initiatives we saw in Oregon, and what, Portugal's been doing for almost a decade now, incredibly successfully. Hawaii, Hawaii is like Vermont, one of those places I think most people are like, wait a minute, pot's not legal there? And actually it really wasn't for years. They really didn't like it at all. So they're finally coming around. I think, again, great. Every state we get is fantastic. I think most people who go to Hawaii, I think they're going to have a great tourist industry, much like Vermont. People will go to Hawaii and people will pay $80, $90, $100 for an eighth. So, they're on vacation. It's the Maui Wowie. Again, they've got that craft industry. They've got that reputation for quality. They've got that people coming to spend money there. If you happen to be fortunate enough to live in an area that is that Hawaii, Maine, a lot of parts of it, Vermont, destination spots, that gives a real opportunity for that craft industry. And I guarantee you're going to see a cannabis industry that is economically very similar in Hawaii to that what we're going to have here in Vermont, which is primarily tourist based as opposed to primarily residential based.
It'd be great.
About it.
No, but Hawaii's gonna be great. Like you said, tourism, man. Like the amount of revenue that can be generated through tourism that I don't think it's applied to these industries enough is ridiculous. Like, I bet you our tourism industry here in Vermont could probably challenge just our local industry, right? I mean, between
we're going to sell, we have 600,000 people in the state, most of whom who smoke cannabis have been smoking cannabis for years. We have home grow allowed. People grow their own. People know where to get theirs. It's the people, it's our 14 million, tourists a year that don't know where to get any. And most of them, want to get some. So, I'll tell you a really funny story. I probably shouldn't tell this. But when I was 19, I lived in Maui for about a year. I camped out with my buddy. We were hiking around, living on beaches. And we would hitchhike around, and we had one friend down there who knew where to get weed, and we would buy these $300 ounces of great Hawaiian weed, and we would hitchhike, and we would sell it to tourists. See, this was back in 1997. I was 19 years old, for $100 a day, and back then in 1997, and they would be driving in their rental cars, these fancy rental cars, and it would be, the Chad with the sunglasses, and the good blonde girlfriend out on their Hawaiian vacation, and they'd drop $100 back then to us for an eighth in a heartbeat. And you had locals who were ripping them off. At least we were selling good weed. But, and that type of mentality is what that craft industry is going to grow. And what I really hope is that you see in Hawaii what you see in Vermont, which is that it's a locally owned industry. That they craft theirs the same way we have, where it does not incentivize economics of scale, where it doesn't incentivize MedMen to come in and get 20 dispensaries, because the people and the native people of Hawaii have been screwed over at every turn by us, for the last 100 years. And this is a great opportunity for them to take some of that back. And I really hope it's a locally owned industry. I really hope the legislature in Hawaii pays attention to what, we did in Vermont. And that's my big hope for Hawaii. It's a real opportunity for the people, for the native people, to actually get an industry to call theirs.
Yeah, one of the biggest factors that I find with Hawaii that is like on its own and completely different from anywhere, even in New England, is the fact that it's isolated and it doesn't have surrounding states that's bringing in their own thing. Like that's one thing that I was worried about too with Vermont or Maine or Massachusetts, was that once they legalize, well, now we have Colorado, now we have California, and they've already established their industries for the most part. Whereas a lot of those, local small businesses in the New England area, they're struggling to keep up, especially in Massachusetts, where you're paying astronomical taxes. So with the Hawaii thing, I mean, you really are, you're isolating a locally owned business, and everyone can really thrive who lives there.
I hope so. What worked so well, I mean, Massachusetts was not set up for small mom and pop operations. Massachusetts was set up for corporations. I mean,
they wanted the big guy.
Yeah. I mean, when you need, $1 million in the bank, you need to be able to demonstrate $500,000, the one, like what I love about Vermont, and of course we don't see implementation yet, so we'll have to wait and see how it washes out. But the one license limit, you can have a dispensary license, but you can have one. Can't have two, can't have three, can't have chain, can't have five, but one. You can have cultivation license. Everyone can get one. That is, for my mind, that has really pushed out. I mean, we get quite a few. We're the only cannabis law firm in the state, so we've gotten quite a bit of interest. And almost to a T, every out-of-state kind of inquiry we've had, as soon as they find that out, absolutely no interest. Every single person we're working with is a small Vermont business. And they're going to have excellent chances at dispensary licenses, and they're almost guaranteed a cultivation license if they want it. So I think that one license limit, and it does allow vertical integration. You can't have one of each. You can only have one of each. It's a great way to keep things small. It dissuades economies of scale. If you make money by having 50,000 franchise or 50,000 locations across the U.S., you are not going to be interested in one single profit-generating unit in Vermont. So I'm really still very cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to keep this industry local.
No, I think that's a great way to approach it, and you make complete sense. I mean, we were talking about it, I think last night with Sherry, the Canada and America, right? Like, actually, it was somebody else. Because there's another belief that's starting to go around now with the new Attorney General that people are starting to call me about. They're starting to read reports. And it's basically like the new Attorney General is pro for the Canadian-based government-run system, right? So he's been out there. He's known to talk about this. So now everybody's going, wait, now are we going to shift gears to a government-controlled systems? I mean, we're not, it's not legalized federally yet. They can change that, right? And what would that look like? You know what I mean?
Stop hearing one little soundbite and thinking that's going to dictate everything. Merrick Garland once in a paper 4 years ago said he was impressed with the Canadian marijuana system. Oh my God, we're going to have favorite marijuana. Calm down. Merrick, we're going to give the guy a little bit of time to figure out what the bathroom is in the Department of Justice before we start crucifying him for, marijuana policy. I will say the first thing we've seen is the DOJ not really take a great stance in a recent case. But this is, I think, just kind of like, knee-jerk reaction by the Department of Justice. Marijuana ban. I think we're in a much better place than we would have been under Sessions, under Bill Barr, under anybody that, that lunatic would have put in there. So we've already in a better place. Is any attorney general going to, light up a joint and stop playing reggae? No. I mean, that's just the prosecutors. That's what they do. They prosecute people. They spend a lifetime prosecuting people. It's very difficult to get over that. We've talked about that mental kind of difficulty in accepting the fact that, all those lives you've ruined, all those people you've put in jail, you've done so for no reason. It's very difficult for that mindset to accept. Until that entire kind of generation is washed out and a new generation has taken that place, we're still going to get a lot of this. Even if their party says it's good, and even if policy says it's good, somewhere in the back of their mind, they're still saying this is a danger, this is bad, this is bad. Are we going to get a fully nationalized marijuana system? I really don't think so, especially because of how state-specific the grassroots movement of legalization has been. This has been a state by state by state battle. We've established state rules, we've established state regulations, and honestly, when we look at what has the most likelihood of success through Congress is a bill that would then the States Act, give states the rights to make the decision on their own. Because ultimately, if a state like Idaho wants to continue prohibition, I don't see the federal government turning around and saying, no, you have to legalize pot. Leaving it to the states is a good cop-out for the federal government. It lets them let it become legal where it wants to be without any of the blowback. It's your decision. You made the choice yourself. So that's why I think we're a lot more likely to see. The federal government doesn't need something else to regulate, but leave it to the states. It seems common sense. That's what I think. We'll see.
Should be common sense. I mean, we're seeing reports now everywhere about, all these things we've been pitching for years. Now they're starting to come out with reports about like how, opioid deaths are being lowered in large numbers around dispensaries, right? All over the country. And this isn't just in like one state, one little, individual article that they're putting out here. I've read about 4 or 5 different articles from 4 or 5 different people doing different tests and looking into this, going, hey, what's going on? Like, this is great. You know what I mean? Opioids. We're looking at numbers falling, right? And we're talking about trying to predict opioid deaths. And like you said, Tim, we talk about it all the time. The sky hasn't fallen yet, right? Like no one's dying, no one's going out. Kids, these numbers are inflating like everybody thought they were. The only thing I have issues with is people are still getting arrested, right? We're still trying to get people out of jail. We're still getting arrested. And I read an article recently about how New Jersey has over 6,000 people arrested since their supposed legalization. What's going on there in New Jersey?
This goes right back to what I was just saying. And this is prosecutors, this is law enforcement, this is the people who are responsible for these arrests. They can't stop. They just can't stop. The cops can't help it. They see pot, they see brown skin, they throw on the cuffs and put them in a jail cell. That's just the way it goes. It's what they've done for years. And it's the mindset that we need to break. The really atrocious part about this is that there's been the Attorney General of New Jersey basically has told the prosecutors not to prosecute these cases. I haven't flat out banned them, but And their legalization bill, the governor has still not signed it because of some, demands he has in the little legislative wrangling. But much like Vermont, on the 25th of February, it will become law with or without his signature. He would have to veto it, which he has been such a proponent. I can't imagine him turning around and vetoing it. So as of the 25th, it would become legal and all these prosecutions would become moot anyway. So they're really arresting people for no reason. But what they're doing is they're putting people at risk while in the process of being arrested, of being shot, being killed, being harmed, being, getting into it with the cops and all of a sudden picking up new charges, probation violations, a ton of the ancillary consequences that come from an arrest for no reason, for cases that aren't going to be prosecuted. And for cases that most likely in 2 weeks will become moot because the underlying behavior will be not legalized. The money, the time, and frankly, even officer safety. You're putting the officers at risk. You're certainly putting the people at risk. You're putting bystanders at risk. You're putting, anyone within bullet distance at risk. If one of these cops decides to start popping off rounds, you're creating this really unnecessary situation that's putting both the community and law enforcement at risk for absolutely no reason. That's how this mindset, how deep it's set in law enforcement and in minds. It's just, they can't stop. So it'll get better. It will get better. Legalization will happen. These cases won't be prosecuted. Eventually, just through behavioral modification, cops will instinctively stop. I'm sure a very similar kind of pattern of behavior occurred after Prohibition. Once that's your job and that's what you do and that's what you've done, it is very hard to just all of a sudden turn it off like a spigot.
Yep. No, I agree. It's hard, and then implement all these new systems and change gears as quickly as they're trying to. But still, I would think some of these cops have to be like, fucking few, man. I don't have to go bust these guys anymore for bullshit, right? Like, I mean, isn't any cop think that way, or is it just like, fuck, I lost it?
It's easy to get into the habit of painting all cops with a broad brush. All law enforcement's bad. All cops are pigs.
Right.
It is not true. I know some excellent law enforcement officers.
Yeah,
I will tell you that I will be honest and say they're in the minority. I know more horrible cops than I do good cops, but I know quite a few good law enforcement. And, I have some close friends. I'm a criminal defense attorney for almost 10 years before this. You get to know law enforcement through depositions, they're meeting on low small town, and I've made some good friends on the force. But there's also a disproportionate amount of not such great people. Unfortunately, positions of power like law enforcement can attract people who want to do good, and it can also attract people who have some real serious issues. And all too often, those people with the real serious issues manage to rise pretty high in the ranks.
Yeah, unfortunately. And all I gotta say is, if Colombia can do this and Mexico can do this, Canada can do this, fuck, America can do this, right? I mean,
come on, let's do
this. Right? I watch Narcos like it's my life. I love that show, right? I just sit there and watch. I'm like, man, this shit doesn't happen in America. Like, this is America's playground down there. It's just fucking the whole war on drugs just blows my mind. And like I said, the more you research, the more you get more frustrated by it, and then you just realize the power of politics, right? Chris, get back to you here before we end up the show. We got videos done, so we're gonna have Sherry's segment here shortly. But terpenes, man. My question for you is, terpenes, like, terpenes as medicine. Everybody talks about cannabinoids. Everybody talks about THC. Everybody talks about CBD. Is terpenes the next big thing for us? Oh, you're on mute, bud. Oh, Chris, you're on mute. I don't know if you can hear us here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I think terpenes definitely are the next big thing, but not by themselves. What I'm doing, combining them with cannabinoids and combining them with, the supplements, vitamins, nootropics. Also, I don't know if you've seen, they're actually making flowable terpene powders now that can be pressed into tablets and pills. So that's something I'm looking into. I was actually just looking at it this morning, but thinking about placing an order. Start making some custom cannabinoid terpene tablets for people, because I mean, let's face it, people want to take a pill. They don't want to take an oil under their tongue. They want to take a round white tablet. That's what they want.
Quick, easy, no flavor.
And
No.
yeah, I mean, that's just, we've been programmed that way, that America wants pills. I mean, even if they're healthy pills, they want a pill. And so
The older people too, they feel most comfortable with it. So it's
yeah.
almost as if they're used to taking pills. So
Mhm.
it's just having it be in a form that's
Yep.
more digestible to them and makes them feel a little
Exactly.
bit more comfortable. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
just starting off with a capsule is
Yeah.
helpful for them.
Mhm. Yeah.
So definitely, combining the terpene powders with obviously cannabinoid powders like isolates and nootropic supplements, vitamins, and pressing them into tablets. I think that will definitely be, a successful endeavor. And another thing I've been doing is creating custom vape cartridges for people. So people, talk to me and I'll create, custom vape with, let's say, like CBC distillate and these terpenes and these supplements, and, emulsify it all together so that you can vape it.
Now,
And
when we talk about vaping, terpenes, and cannabinoids, don't these normally have bake-off points? Is a lot of the vaping, should that be a concern when vaping products like that?
yeah, definitely. But I mean, most of them, like, look at like all the all the vapes that are on the market, and like we were just talking about, like you got one that says Gorilla Glue, or you got one that says this or that. Those are all just terpenes anyways. And
Okay.
most of their boiling points or bake off point, what you called it, are pretty high, you know. So you're going to get the, medical benefits from it before you, destroy it.
Mhm. Nice.
And
Nice.
plus,
As always. Oh, was
sorry.
that Sherry?
Well, as a nurse, when we teach people how to vape, we have them, get a vaporizer pen that has different settings on it.
Yeah.
And, we encourage people to vape at the lowest setting just so they
Yeah.
can get everything without burning it off. Plus, they cough less.
Yeah, like 3.4. Yeah,
Yep.
3.4 volts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, terpenes, cannabinoids start baking off at fairly lower temperatures, and each one has a different establishment as it goes up. Even when you're
Yeah.
press cannabis, you're trying to keep it low and slow. When you're decarboxylating, usually around 225, so that's when your THCs,
Yep.
transition, or THCA transitions to THC. But everything has a boiling point. This is why, as a chef, working with different oils and things like that, MCT oils and all the different products that they use in these carts, those are the other things that kind of concern me a little bit because of where I know their baking points are. It's like, man, I've seen some of these pens have like 1,000 millivolts, and how hot is that? Like, where does that put that oil when you crank that thing up all the way? You know what I mean? And by the time they're done at the end of the carts, they're burnt, right?
Yeah. You shouldn't be making, cannabinoid cartridges with MCT oil, PG, VG, PEG, none of that stuff. It should just be pure distillate and terpenes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've even seen some homemade ones where people add MCT oil a little bit, and it's just like,
Yeah,
man,
no, you don't want to vape that.
It's fat. The fatty MCT oil is a medium chain, triglyceride.
Triglyceride, yeah.
Right? It's like a fat molecule. I mean, it's
it'll vaporize and it will go in your lungs, but then once it cools down, it reliquefies, and then now you've got liquid in your lungs.
potential for lipid pneumonia.
Yeah, and that's what was happening with the vitamin E acetate, and people were dry drowning.
Yep. Yeah.
Terrible
No.
stuff.
Well, that's why I appreciate you guys talking about it today, because we don't talk about this enough, right? We can have this conversation for days about carts and distillates and products and where they come from and how to get them and where they go. And, you got to do your research, guys. When you want to stay, like you said, on a medical level, wash in, wash out, white coats, it's just a different level of how you approach things, right?
Exactly.
A lot of these black market obviously are not putting those times, effort, energies, and funds into it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I want to get to real quick is Sherry's segment, and we'll come back. We'll wrap this up because I don't want to miss this out. This is a fun one. I think we're all going to enjoy because I don't think there's anybody that doesn't like sex out there. And if you do, according to Sherry, just go smoke some weed. Maybe you'll like it. But a great little segment today. For Justin's earlier segment, we'll replay that after the show. For some reason, I can't even get on Facebook. I don't know about any of you guys. I can do everything else but get on Facebook. It literally has locked me out. Hopefully, they haven't kicked us out now.
You got a ban.
I get banned all the time, and they hate us.
God.
But that's what I don't understand. You know what I mean? For the last 3 years, we're able to operate and work on Facebook in an open platform, and you know, not breaking any rules. We're not selling anything. We're just trying to educate people. And in the last 2 months, we've been banned all but, I don't know, 10 days. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, it's getting crazy now.
Yeah, I get banned for liking, I get banned for sharing, we get banned for product, we get banned for content that we posted 3 years ago. And I'm not the only one either. So it's not just me. It's a lot of people.
I know. I've gotten banned a couple of times in the past like 3 months as well, and I've never been banned before ever. So
yeah,
You just got slammed by Instagram too.
Yes, Instagram is now doing the same thing I've seen.
It's awful.
Yeah, that happened to me on Instagram. I tried to promote one of my posts, and they banned me for 7 days.
Yep, I got banned. I was singing a song, you know, I was singing a Bob Marley song, and then I held up a little dish of cannabis. Now, it could have been lettuce. It could have been anything. But because I was singing it and I'm showing it and I'm pointing to it, TikTok banned me. I was like, what? What? That could have been catnip.
Yeah, right.
It's oregano. Come on.
And you'd think after, 70% support that we have countrywide that, we wouldn't have these issues, right? And it's not like people are complaining. It's literally these corporations coming after us. I mean, I know they've been under a lot of heat and a lot of stress and a lot of fire, but what the hell's going on, right?
Oh, Tim, big pharma. It's big pharma. That's what it is. Big pharma is putting the heat on all the people. They said they don't want people finding out that it works.
Yeah, no, it's sadly it's true, and unfortunately, this shows us what media can do. And it's like, what happened a few weeks ago with the Reddit thing, and literally Parler disappearing, and all these apps like getting shut down, disappearing, and literally getting the fucking thumb held on their throats. And you're like, wait, hold on, this is a free speech app in a free speech area online in a free speech kingdom that no one's supposed to be able to do this to us. And then Microsoft or Google goes, man, I don't like that. Gone. And it makes us wonder. It's like I always wake up now wondering if Facebook goes away tomorrow. Like, why does Mark Zuckerberg need to fucking deal with the Senate up his ass every day? He's just going to hit the fucking delete button one day, and we're all going to go to get on, and we're going to imagine how many people are going to, how many lives are going to be ruined then?
Yeah, right. Oh, God. I get a lot of business on Facebook.
I know.
Yeah.
General thing for us too. Amazon though, Amazon is hitting the delete button for us. We either are getting flagged by competitors or anything, like we don't know, but what we get, slammed a lot, and it's because there's like, we found a pot leaf on your product. It's like, I'm literally looking through like 1,000 products right now, and these are all pot leaves. Like, that's all I see. I don't know why it's just us. And we think it's a lot of our competitors trying to miss the ban, but we're not sure yet. We'll find out.
Do some digging.
Yeah, it's just all over all the social media. Like you said, I've seen people literally flat out selling shit on their stories, on their pages, on groups, and people are interacting, and they're just right there, boom, doing it. And the minute we post like a show picture, it gets popped. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People that are doing like black market stuff, they're okay. But people that are trying to do like legitimate business stuff, like us, they're shutting us down.
It sucks. But anyways, we're still here. We're still going. There's other places. And what I want to do right now is get Sherry's little, sex and cannabis segment up. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up, guys. And then we'll look forward to next week. But right now we have cannabis and sex. Hopefully this is going to work. And like I said, nothing seems to want to go right today.
No, it'll work. Come on.
Like I said, I'm almost wondering if Facebook just went away, because like I can't even get into it. I got pages. I'm closing, opening. But can't talk today. Nurse Sherry and Nurse Mark this morning, and on their daily dose went over what everybody's favorite subject is, sex, right? I don't think anybody out there doesn't like sex, and if you do, you can have it with yourself, and that's kind of enjoyable. So it's not even you have to have a partner. You can do it with one, two, solo. It doesn't matter, right? Tell us a little bit about this segment.
So the reason why we covered the segment is because we have a reproductive system. It's part of the endocannabinoid system. And what we're doing on our shows is we're doing health awareness topics where we're marrying or pairing health awareness topics that exist to cannabinoid therapeutics and the endocannabinoid system. So the month of February is Condom Month. February 13th was International Condom Day. February 14th was National Condom Day. And so, I thought, it'd be really good to talk about sex. Why not? It's a nice, juicy topic. It's, hump day, Wednesday, and, men and women. So the segment is about men, women, cannabis, sex, and intimacy. So, and how we can create an experience, with yourself or with the one you love in the bedroom using cannabis.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool for sex. There's a lot of people that say cannabis is really great to help stimulate that sex drive for better sex, and I have to agree. And hopefully you guys will too after you watch the video. So stay tuned. Here it is, the Green Nurse with sex and cannabis.
Hey, folks. Welcome to Canna Talk on In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. My name's Nurse Mark, and I am here with cannabis nurse Sherry, the Green Nurse, and we're from the Green Nurse.
And guess what, everyone? Every month on the Green Nurse, we've been covering health awareness topics and bringing endocannabinoid system education. As cannabis nurses, we want you all to understand how the endocannabinoid system plays a vital role in all areas of our lives, and it is truly the key to optimum health. So the month of February, I found this so fascinating, is Condom Month.
Yeah.
February 13th was International Condom Day.
Yeah.
And February 14th was National Condom Day. So what is
Sherry?
I know, what's up with all the condoms?
Listen, you know what? Condom Month was started by the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, the largest nonprofit HIV/AIDS organization in the world, which is operating in 44 countries.
So love is the best protection. Safer is sexy, right? There are 4 key elements for creating positive, safe, and a delicious sexual experience.
Yeah.
So Mark, I'll let you start with the first one.
Well, here we go, Sherry. Condom use. Listen, it's the most effective way of helping prevent sexually transmitted infections. It may also help prevent pregnancy if used correctly.
Yeah. And we know a lot of people aren't a fan of condoms, but just let it sink in. The most effective way. 2, consent. Consent comes first, even when you're right.
Yeah.
Consent comes first. So communicating with your partner and checking in regularly.
Yeah. So pleasure. Everyone deserves that fuzzy feeling. I mean, make pleasure a priority for you and your partner.
And then regular sexual transmitted infection testing goes hand in hand with being sexually active. So speak to your general practitioner, or if you see a GYN, just for a simple health check. It's really, really important that we take care of our reproductive system, especially if we are engaging in activities. Right?
Gosh, I hope we're all engaging in activities.
Exactly. This is what we're going to talk about too.
You want to be healthy. You want to stimulate your endocannabinoid system. Ooh, good sex is a hell of a way to go.
Absolutely. So the endocannabinoid system and the reproductive system, they are like peas and carrots, right? So the cannabinoid receptors are in the female reproductive system, and it regulates fertility, maternal fetal signaling, and the development of the placenta and embryo. I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
The male cannabinoid receptors in the male reproductive system regulate sperm.
Right. And it can bring pleasure to the bedroom. It's very important to know the general difference between men and women when it comes to hormones and how it affects our ECS and our potential responses. So here we go.
All right, you do men, I'll do women.
Okay. All right.
Go
Listen,
ahead.
I'm up. So for men, lower tolerance.
Women have a higher tolerance, which means they need to take more tolerance breaks, which is just really interesting.
Yeah.
And
what does that mean, Sherry? What does that mean for people? So tolerance is what happens when you ingest a substance. Typically, we talk about it in drugs. When you take it over a period of time, you need to have more to have the same effect, right? So
Right.
for women, there's a higher tolerance. So they need to take tolerance breaks to kind of start fresh.
right, exactly. And plus, the interesting thing too is estrogen levels, affect how cannabinoids work in our body as well.
Yes.
It regulates this enzyme that breaks down the internal endogenous cannabinoids. So the tolerance breaks basically have to do with, and I found in particular, is the multiple ways of medicating microdosing keeps my tolerance level low. And then if I do need to reset my receptors, I take a day off and I use a lot of CBD and do a ton of endocannabinoid system nourishing activities. And that includes touching myself.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it? My God, it's your body.
Exactly.
Come on. Celebrate.
Exactly.
All right, so listen, guys, there are cannabinoid receptors in the smooth muscle of the penis.
And
especially
ladies,
as we get older,
yes,
you want to make sure you're doing a lot to make sure your erections are solid.
well, that's it too. So here's the other thing when it comes to men and women. So cannabinoid receptors are in the vagina and vulva. And the other thing that I wanted to point out too is the nerve endings. Okay, so it said that the women's clitoris has over 8,000 nerve endings, and the male penis has over 4,000. So I thought that was really kind of interesting,
Yeah.
touchy feely, right?
That's it. Listen, guys, we don't have the monthly fluctuations in hormones. Thank God. Thank God we don't have to deal with that. But testosterone production can decrease with too much THC. Yeah.
So it's all about that balance of, consuming cannabinoids. So too much can decrease it. So interesting with women, estrogen regulates an enzyme that actually breaks down our own bliss-like molecules. So when estrogen levels are low, right, the enzyme that breaks down our own anandamine molecule doesn't do as good of a job, right? So our internal THC molecule gets broken down quicker. So low estrogen levels break down our own bliss molecule faster. So our estrogen is lowest on the day of our period. So if you think about that, a lot of times women will need more cannabinoids during that time of the month. So estrogen's a magnifying glass. That's what I'm trying to say. Estrogen is a magnifying glass. Women are more sensitive to cannabis when estrogen levels are high. So estrogen peaks before your period. So it's really, really interesting. So you can, when your estrogen levels are high, you can feel it more. When they're low, you need more.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so complex, Sherry. And so listen, lower levels of cannabinoids can increase sperm production due to regulating the reproductive system.
There you go. So microdosing for the win, men.
Microdose.
Yes. So sexual performance.
Well, here's a thing, and having experienced this myself, cannabis can decrease sexual performance if you take too much THC.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. You roll into bed, you've had too much THC. It's like, what do you want to do? You know what?
Sleep.
I think you just want to lay back on this comfy pillow and just kind of relax. You know what I mean, Sherry?
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing too that I found fascinating about doing this research is that, cannabis increases sexual arousal and stimulation for women, and women have actually reported greater sexual pleasure with cannabis than men.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, there is a sweet spot for sure because it increases that feeling, that sensitivity you talked about. It does at the low dose, at the right dose, it can increase that sensitivity. It can really enhance the experience. Now listen, too much THC, again, we talked about it earlier, lowers testosterone production.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's all about the balance.
Low testosterone, Sherry, it's going to affect libido, sexual performance, and male fertility. And so for men, you know, there are less withdrawal symptoms. If you're trying to stop, if you're going to take a little vacation, you know, there's less withdrawal symptoms because we're not as sensitive to it.
Right. Yeah. And women, on the other hand, you know, if women are trying to stop consuming cannabis, they may feel it a little bit more. And sometimes too, like I said, when we're resetting our receptors, if I take that break, mitigating that, you know, because here's the thing is if you're taking too much THC, just think about this.
Yeah.
If you're taking too much THC, what happens to your body? Your body says, oh, I'm good. I'm not going to make any more on-demand. I'm just going to go take a nap, right? Think about that. Yeah. So that's why microdosing, using a little bit of THC or CBD or your cannabinoid, you know, whatever your cannabinoid combination is, you want it to mimic your own endocannabinoid system, right? As opposed to flooding it.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of high dose of THC, CBD. Or other cannabinoids. I'm really about low dose. You know what it reminds me of, Sherry? It reminds me of when you're put on steroids for inflammation, right? When you're put on steroids, what happens? Your body stops, your adrenal glands stop producing. Yeah.
So cannabis can help us move through inhibitions that keeps our feet on the brakes. We want to lift the brake pedal off so we can step on the gas and enjoy ourselves in the bedroom. So when we're working with patients and we educate on how cannabis may be helpful, we talk about the on-off switch, just like we do with the endocannabinoid system. So, you know, there's two sexual that are going on in the same time. It's the excitation system and the inhibition system, right? Excitation is all that sexual relevant stimuli in the field of our awareness.
Right.
And it says, let's go, I'm ready. Right? And then the inhibition system that puts the brakes on and says, nope. And that has to do with stress, pain, fear, past trauma.
Past trauma, yeah.
Yeah. And the other important thing too, for people that are out there when it comes to sex, it's really important, is when a woman becomes wet, wetness does not determine arousal. I learned this from Ashley Monta. And basically, you know, some women, as they get older, they're on hormones, hormone related, depending upon where they are in their medication, relationship factors, past trauma, stress, infection, and other diagnoses.
Right.
So women can be really turned on and not be as lubricated as they may want. So we are all for lots of lube.
Lube. All right, so here's the general rule of thumb. Both parties may need to medicate differently, or they may not need to medicate.
Yeah.
Second thing, no edibles, Sherry, unless you have used them in the past and you know where your level is, right? And it's about that low dose. Where is your sweet spot?
Inhalation's like definitely the most easiest to titrate, you know, and but you know, everyone's different as to how they want to consume. We'll talk about that in a minute, is just to be mindful and to pay attention, you know, before you get into the bedroom, and doing some experimenting on your own as to how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
You know, and topicals, Mark, we find is just fascinating. We love it. Love topicals.
You know, a little bit of lube, a little bit of topicals. The clitoris has over 8,000 nerve endings, as opposed to 4,000 in the penis.
So we're a big proponent of lubricant. So everyone should be using wetness does not determine arousal. And this is my final say: the juicier, the better, for sure.
Yeah. Listen, you got to use it intentionally. Talk about the experience you're both looking to create. Intimacy is deepened with these conversations. And really, when you can step outside of whatever the past looked like and step into what's possible with your partner today, oh my God, the conversations you can have are amazing. They're fun.
It's fun. Yes, sex is fun. And talking about sex is even funner. And if you can do it, you can create context outside of the bedroom before you even get into the bedroom. So you both matter. And so the final word on this is no stoning and boning. Right? We have
That's right. That's right.
Use a condom. Absolutely. And lots of lubricant. So this has been a special episode of Canna Talk with Nurse Mark and Nurse Sherry from the Green Nurse. If you or someone you love is suffering from chronic pain, interested in the Canna Wellness, or interested in having safe adult use experience, Canna counseling, that want to have a safe, loving experience in the bedroom, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
So contact us at www.thegreennurse.com. Join us every week at In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio from 4:20 to 6:20 p.m. And remember, it's about living your best life.
That's cool.
That was fun.
I'm a
That was a
total.
good one.
That was incredible.
Hey, learned a
I like
lot.
to smoke and have sex. I'm a smoker and a poker, I guess.
Smoker and a poker. Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to be honest. I'll just lay it all on the line here. When I was really sick, I literally thought I would never have sex again. I mean, and that's really, really depressing, you know, and just so to be able to literally come off of 18 pharmaceuticals, reinvent yourself, to feel good enough to even consider having sex is a win. And you know what I mean? So, and there's a lot of patients that are out there, people that are out there that have chronic debilitating illnesses, that they have a lot of symptoms where they're just not, it's just not there. And so, and where cannabis can really be an awesome tool to help you to get that back, even if it's just a little bit, you know, even if it's just bringing yourself pleasure, you know, it's really important. Cannabinoids, reproductive health, sexual health, hormones, sex is anti-aging for you new people out there. It truly is. And so, you know, when you think about that bliss-like feeling, you know, motion is the lotion. We talk about exercising, upregulating the endocannabinoid system. Well, just think about sex. You're doing a lot of motion and you get that bliss-like feeling. Then a non-dimine molecule gets stimulated to release those endorphins. So you feel good. All these hormones get secreted in your body.
Blood cells and
Yeah. So sex for the win.
right. Or hey, I learned a long time ago, orgasms make you healthy, right? So
yeah, totally. Well, what about that glow after, you know what I mean? That after you, and you're like, ooh, yeah, I got that glow going.
right. Orgasms make you healthy, whether you do it solo or have a hand, right? Like,
Yeah. So reach out and touch someone or touch yourself.
right. Especially this day in COVID, go masturbate. Damn it. Stay healthy. No, another great segment. A lot of great information there, especially for people how it can impact you. You know, there's a lot of great articles out there as well. You can easily Google sex and cannabis. I love sex and cannabis as well. I think it definitely enhances and even when I'm alone and smoke, I always seem to find myself not aroused, but like my brain going there. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
Go on
comfort.
vacation.
Comfort.
Right on vacation. Close your eyes and there you go.
Well, that's it. That's all we got this week, guys. We're gonna end it there. No. I want to thank everybody for coming on today. Again, I know we have a few issues and nothing seems to be working right now. I still can't even get into Facebook right now. So hopefully everybody else can. It's still there. Again, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on as well. Let people know what again, where they can find you.
Okay.
Sherry has all your stuff. She's been using it, and it's been amazing. I know it knocks her right the hell out. But like you said, it's really designed to do that, right? So it's a product that's designed for a purpose, and it's not general purpose.
That's my rest formula. Yep, that's designed to put you to sleep. I mean, I have people that one woman specifically, she's had insomnia, like chronic insomnia for 10 years, and she's tried like every pharmaceutical, every over-the-counter thing, like just everything, and nothing worked for her except for my formula. So she's, needless to say, she buys it every month. But yeah, I mean, you can find me at thistlethera.com. That's my website. Right on my website, there's a live chat thing. If you chat, it comes right to my cell phone. So we can talk and do a consultation. Consultations are free. And if you don't want to just buy something basic off the website, if you want something created for you, it's the same price. It's not like I'm going to charge more. And like I said, the consultation is free. And I also do medical cards, in Massachusetts, medical cards, because I know you guys are in Vermont. And I do those for $100. So that's pretty much cheaper than anybody in Massachusetts. Try to make it affordable for everybody. And I have a Facebook group called Reclaim Your Health. And that basically, I write articles about different cannabinoids, terpenes, supplements. I just try to teach people, because when I had my CBD store, it was all about education. And I just trying to go back to that and educate people, because I still have a lot of people that I tell them about my products and, tell them it's, it starts out with, cannabinoids and then terpenes and then supplements. And then they still ask me, is it THC or is it CBD? And I'm like, it's so much more. Like, okay, so then I started that group, and that's great. I mean, you can find me at Thistle on Instagram. I put a lot of sales on there. I just did a Valentine's Day sale at 50% off for Valentine's Day, and that went over really well, actually. So I think I'm going to be doing another one pretty soon. So yeah, I mean, Thistle Therapies is on Facebook. The Reclaim Your Health is great because there's always special perks and giveaways and sales in that group. Find me anywhere. I'm all over the place.
Well, I appreciate you doing what you do. It's really the way that I've been trying to get people to think about medication for years, man.
Thank you.
It really is. It's not about one thing. That's what drives me nuts about the CBD kind of boom, I call it. I think it's a boom. You know what I mean? We talk about the entourage effect a lot. We talk about terpenes a lot. And a chef for many years working in the health industries and doing fine dining health style services, you really realize a lot, you take it from an herbalist standpoint, you know what I mean? Of turmerics and gingers and garlics and all these rosemaries and basils and how they can interact with your body. And then now, here comes cannabis and your endocannabinoid system and terpenes. And now we're learning about why and how, even getting more in depth with that. Like you said, limonene, beta, caryophyllene, which is what we did yesterday, lemonol, like all these different things that we have, smells, taste, it's all terpene basically, guys. Like any oil-based flavor
even some insects have terpenes in them.
No way, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so every single plant and even a few insects have terpenes. There
you go. We can have chocolate covered insects.
Literally, that's the first place my mind went was like, what the hell is an insect going to taste like if I smoke it?
Well, I first thought, I'm going to get that insect in my body, wrap it in chocolate.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, again, guys, thank you. We're past 6:20. Hopefully we can square away a few of these things next week. Justin, it was amazing to have you on the show. Thank you for being part of it with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'll be putting the strain of the week back up as soon as Facebook will let me back in. I'm going to probably do I can get into everything else but Facebook right now, unfortunately.
Getting zucked here.
Yeah, right. Dude, literally, the minute I said Facebook, it just went burp and went away. And like, I have all these spinny wheels, all my other websites I can get into, everything else I'm on, YouTube are working. So again, guys, we apologize for the issues with Facebook today. This was recorded on YouTube. We'll play it back over so we can share it back out to everybody. Justin, again, strain of the week, great strain of the week. We'll play that again today, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Throwback Thursday, so we'll probably throw a whole bunch of stuff up. Sharing another great segment on sex. It was really, those are the questions that people need to hear, and we need to talk about more and more and more. Timothy Fair, Vermont Campus Solutions. Love having you here. Love arguing and learning and trying to figure out what the fuck half the country's doing. Because who knows, right? So our opinion segment. And Chris, man, again, like I said, I've been watching you for years. I'm glad to finally get you on the show. What you've been doing is amazing.
Thank you.
The whole, like I said, the whole idea behind it, and I want to stress to people is, give Chris a call, consult with him. You have nothing to lose, and try a product because like we were saying earlier, the Amazon products, these snake oil products, these CBD
Yeah.
stores. I mean, what bothers me is like I kind of feel like we only have like, you know, one time for that first impression, you know what I mean? Where like somebody goes out and buys a $90 bottle and it doesn't work, they're probably not going to be too encouraged to go
Yeah,
out.
they're not going to use any type of cannabinoids ever again. Like they'll probably use THC, but you know, they're not going to try other things, you know.
Right. And unfortunately, whether they realize later down the road it was bunk, fake, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, they might never come back. So for me, when people are looking to get into this industry, or you're looking to try for the first time, you can reach out to people like Chris, reach out to the Green Nurses, Sherry and Mark, Justin, even Tim, man. I mean, Tim will steer you in the right direction if you have any questions about anything that has to do with cannabis, right? Especially when you're becoming a first-time user. It's always better to talk to somebody who uses, who can get you down a guideline, maybe not your little friend, but somebody you know who's used and can offer you a quality product, and we can stay healthy. And guys, we're going to be having the whole complete tent stuff coming up here, hopefully the next couple of days. So we'll give you a little discount to the bud growers deals going on. Check them out, guys. Whole setups, they're awesome. And again, if any legal issues, contact Timothy Fair, Chris Thistle. Thank you,
Bud.
guys. I appreciate everybody today. Sorry about the craziness. I think we're all late. Nothing seems to work. It's just another Wednesday, right? Another Wednesday in
right.
Ronaville. All right, guys. Thanks again. We'll have everything up, and we'll talk to you guys later.
See you next week.
See you next week, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me
on the show.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, guys.